I've always been aware of other people's feelings. Are we on, guys? Good deal. Thanks. I'm just aware of people's feelings. I always is sensitive about somebody's feelings. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And if I see a person whose feelings are being reactive or downtrodden or whatever it may be, I use it as an opportunity to minister to them. And I've always been for the underdog. I could tell you stories and stories, and I won't waste your time today, because I could tell you some stories about how I was for the underdog, and years later the underdog was for me and saved me out of a big mess. And I've always at least tried to see the positive and the negative of things, to see the good and the bad, to see the other person's side, to try not to be blind and ignorant that I'm the only one that's right. And that's even true in the gospel that I'm preaching. And I feel the same way about Mother's Day. I want to look at the good side. I want to look at everything. I want to do something, but I'm not going to be bound by a calendar to tell me, like at Christmas time, I got to preach about the birth of Yahshua, and I'm not bound by that. But today on Mother's Day, I want to talk about just Mother's Day a little bit, because it's sweet, it's happy, it's beautiful, but it's a little tricky unless we're just going to be dull in our senses, unless we're just going to walk out here and celebrate and give prizes to the oldest mother, the youngest mother. It's hard to beat the oldest mother unless she dies. She gets it every year. Are you going to ever die so I can be the oldest mother here? I don't think you should be standing in line for that reward anyhow. Some women are delighted to come to church on Mother's Day because sometimes, maybe if they're lucky, their husbands just might acknowledge their motherhood. Maybe, if they're lucky. And guys, I'm going to tell you, those holidays like that can get you in deep trouble. I know guys that do not know their anniversary day. They do not know it. I know guys who do not know their wife's birthday. And I know guys who do not know what day it is, period. That's the retired people. Retired people, right, Jim? What day is it, Jim? I'm glad you made it to church today. So these days, these holidays can get us in some deep trouble if we're not mindful. And so there's a lot of people. I used to give, dinner to the oldest, youngest, and one of the most kids. It's hard to catch her, too. Once you got like 18 kids, it's like, just give her the gift certificate and let's stay home. But this is what I know. Some women are hurting so deeply that they're not here today. Y'all want to get real about this morning? I want to talk about how I see Mother's Day. When I was a kid, man, you had the red roses for the mothers, and then you would give a mother a white rose if her mother was dead. How do we shower love on moms and at the same time show compassion to those mothers and those women who are wounded? Because I can't just be focused on the ones that are celebrating. I'm focused on the ones who are not celebrating for good reasons. It's just tricky to me. I'm going to tell you, it's tricky. I read a church signboard years ago. You know how the church has the funny stuff on there? It's the best stuff you get out of those churches is the stuff on, the sermons are horrible, but that stuff on their sign is some funny stuff, I want to tell you. And it said this: God couldn't be everywhere, so He gave us mothers. Well, I got to tell you something. That ain't true to everybody. Everybody didn't have a good mama. I said, everybody didn't have a good mama. All right, sing that happy song one more time, will you? Then get up here and sing clean. We need a happy song. Did God give the addicted mother who beat her children as a loving gift for Mother's Day to be celebrated. And, and I think on Mother's Day we mean well, but for me, honoring mothers on Mother's Day can be, and usually is, potentially hurtful for other people. I got to tell you, it's hard enough to be a mama with your kids. And then you have to have mamas who lost their kids. And you have the mothers that never had kids. And we go on. Are y'all okay with me talking like this morning? You can go over there and get a free white or red rose right there. They'll let you out. They'll beat us. No, we're going to beat them to the restaurants today. Somebody say amen. So the bottom line, I must acknowledge that most families are messy. I don't know where y'all living. I'm keenly aware of the many women who come and sit in the church who don't get the red rose on their lapels for being a mother, and who don't get to stand to be honored. All mothers stand, and we clap for them. And I can't help but be sensitive toward the people who didn't stand. Some maybe who would love to be moms, but for all these various reasons, they're not. Some have been unable to conceive. Some have had abortions. There's others who never married. Without even meaning to, my disposition is I filter every word of even the best Mother's Days through their ears too. How do they feel this morning? Are they being loved? Adoptive moms may offer a prayer of gratitude for those who carried their children into the world. And for many people, these mothers may by default remain nameless and faceless. Would you listen close to me today? Some we know by name. My mind thinks of these mothers. When I was a kid, I remember I couldn't even say the word pregnant. I would get in trouble for saying you could say PG. You couldn't say pregnant. I got in trouble really bad one time for a lady who used to play piano for me. Her and her sister both played piano for me when I sang as a little boy. And she had a big fat belly. And I said something about her being pregnant. I was probably 10 years old, 11 years old. And I never got a spanking. I got a whip. I got whippings. Anybody else get whippings before? Yeah. And I remember as a child of the mothers who were shuffled away to homes for unwed mothers in the 50s, the 60s, and 70s. And I can remember in the 70s. I don't know about the 80s. Giving birth alone in those houses out of town because of the shame and embarrassment to their family. They hit them. They rushed them out of town. They were there 9 months. They had the baby. They came back, returning home with empty arms from a child that they carried for 9 months. Praise God for the adoption process. But there's other people involved. And I filter when I preach, and I filter everybody's position. I believe that I just do that. And most people were told or taught or encouraged or whatever that they would go home thinking they would just forget and move on with their lives. But I've got a sneaky suspicion that these mamas never forgot. And whether or not they stand to be recognized in a Sunday morning service for the celebration of Mother's Day, the child they're thinking of, as the neighbors are clapping for mothers who are standing and congratulating them, and God bless them. I mean, y'all hear what I'm saying? they'll be clapping, and they'll have ones that they never were able to hold. Many women are not home or sitting at home today, not just here, but just all over America because it's Mother's Day. And they'll have all these excuses they may have. And no matter how well or how fun it's handled and what prizes you get, I want to tell you, I know for a fact it's simply too painful for somebody to come and hear about Mother's Day. So today, recognizing and honoring all the mothers, I do. I honor and I recognize. But for me, it's tricky. And it's hard. Because everybody didn't have a great mama. And thinking about mama sometimes is a harsh pain to have to deal with. As a nation, I see that they glorify things really for us to have to buy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Every month there's some kind of, a third cousin day. There's cat owner's day, or there's always something, and you have to go buy something for somebody. It generates income. And we've often glorified motherhood, and I believe it's desperately trying to regain a normalcy in the marriage and in the home in the wake of World War II especially. And the Vietnam War, Korean War, I guess, too. But to me, the two that stand out are the World War II and the Vietnam War. And so the idealized mothers symbolized and became the domestic anchor of stability in the American home. Because Daddy was in Germany or in the Pacific fighting. So there was a shift that took place. I remember I had an uncle. I might as well say his name. Uncle Ray. I loved Uncle Ray, don't get me wrong. But I remember the time when Uncle Ray went to the Army. He was in the Army, the Navy. I mean, he was like, and he wouldn't come home. And I remember the time when he didn't send money home to my cousins and to my aunt. So while he was gone, my aunt became the anchor of stability in that home. And when he came back, she still stayed it, didn't she? Ain't Net. Some of y'all know Ain't Net. Chester, you've eaten lunch with Ain't Net before. And so what happened, now this, I'm telling you how old I am. Some of you may not even know what I'm talking about. But June Cleaver, how many of you know her? You know, how many of you know Beaver Cleaver? Do you know Eddie Haskell? Perfect mothers a la June Cleaver. Now here they are raising perfect children. Eddie Haskell's mama didn't, but he acted perfect. And these women were fed infant formula and not breastfed. I'm not going to get off on that subject today because I could say some things on that subject that I'm not going to say. But they started giving infant formula and they started feeding us cornflakes or Tony Tiger, Frosted Flakes. And June kept a perfect home, and she had wielding this shiny brand new Hoover vacuum cleaner. And she walks around in this dress like she's going to church on Sunday. June Cleaver had her pearls on. Her hair was fixed. And it burned an impression and set a precedent that is still screwing around with women and men today. You say, I've never heard of that before. Well, I'm telling you what, I'm sure it's affected you one way or the other. Many mothers, aware of their own imperfections and failures, in this type setting can be squirming a little bit because of what seems like failure to them. I didn't do this. I see this family honored by all their children, it seems. Remember, you got to look beyond the icing on the cake. You don't know what's going on, but we have this impression like, man, I wish my family was like that. I wish my children would honor me like that. You don't know what's going on, but I understand that there is that thing in people who are comparing themselves. These television programs and ads features these glimpses of these sacrificial mothers who ask for no more than a daggum $2 greeting card as thanks for squeezing out a baby. I've been there. And even though it's not as bad as a kidney stone, doctors say, I read it on the internet. So what do? We rush to the drugstore in the morning and we get a card that says congratulations for graduating, because all the Mother's Day cards are gone. You scrub that out and put Mother's Day in your Jethro Bodine style writing. And we give them a thanks for squeezing out a kid, for changing all those diapers, for preparing meals, for cleaning toilets, all the while keeping her hair fixed and makeup perfect, smiling, and never raising her voice. Happy Mother's Day. I forget, there's a word I learned, truck is caveman. I'll learn it and teach you that one day. In reality, though, the more pressing awareness with which a mother is living, and perhaps her children do as well, are the many areas where a mother fails. Maybe you ain't June Cleaver, but I want y'all to hear me. You say, I don't know what you're talking about. I do. This is what I do, and I've been doing for a living, if you want to call it that, ministering to people and to families and to women because their husbands are too damn stupid to do it. This is good preaching right here. I'm getting off my chest right now. Maybe I should be preaching Mother's Day. Like all mothers, you're just doing the best you can do. Sometimes you're going to succeed, ladies, and guess what? And other times, not so much. Not so much. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail. It is not easy being a mama. Yeah, but my mother, okay. Congratulations. There will be those. So we honor our mothers as the giver of this noble, sacrificial mother love. There'll be those who will be asking Yahweh to help them love like He loved us. Especially those who have or think they failed as being a mama at whatever level you may be at. I failed. To keep it real, perhaps we will acknowledge that most families are messy. What they're doing next door probably isn't what you think it is. The appearance on the outside probably isn't what you think it is. People say, I'm so shocked they got a divorce. Well, I'm not. I've been dealing with them for 25 years. And a lot of people are divorced and they still live in the same house. They don't even know they're divorced. Because they don't talk to each other. They don't have any intimacy. They don't have any type of relationship except, we do this together, we do that together. There's a bartering ideal there. And so one of this big deal to me is this, because my job right now, I'm going to stand before Yahweh for your souls. You're not going to stand before Yahweh for me. I'm going to stand before Yahweh. Well, what happens to your soul? And I'm going to tell you, I'm trying to help him orchestrate an ecclesia here. And if I can't get men to love their wives like Christ loved the church, I don't think we're going to get any men coming in here loving anybody. And I know it's Mother's Day, but I'm going to jump on us men for a little bit. I thought I'd get one mama to say amen. Perhaps we can be compassionate on this day by simply acknowledging that it's probably a difficult day for many people. Can anybody but me see what I'm saying, man? That there's people in this room right now that are struggling with this mama thing for whatever reason. Maybe they had a bad mama. Maybe they had mama so good they can't live up to the mama. Maybe they had an abortion. Maybe they adopted out. Maybe whatever it may be. This is not just let's just be happy. I believe in being real. And this morning I can tell you, I know I'm being real, and I want you to be real. Because if we don't get real, then ain't nothing going to be real. As I'm aware of this, I acknowledge that Yahweh is keenly aware of all that you hold in your heart. You can say and do what you want to do, but He knows the very secrets and dark places in you. And on this Mother's Day, I think the best thing we can do is to be real. See, I believe that a mother is a calling. If you don't know who you are, you don't need to go after some calling. I was talking to Reggie this week. I was talking about a lot of men who were in the ministry are selling roofing. They're doing what you're doing. And we were discussing the fact that what happened is these people were probably talkers, outgoing, maybe a good personality, maybe was real friendly, and they got saved at some point in their life. And so everybody said, you should be a preacher. So they go to be a preacher, and guess what? They quit. It's not in their character. Or they fail morally because it's not in their character. Or they do something that they get depressed. I was told that next to the law enforcement occupation, pastors committing suicide was second to that, and nothing else. So these men would go in and think that was their calling because they didn't recognize who they were. They were just real friendly people. So guess what, Tucker? When they went to sell roofs after their church booted them out and voted them out, they did real good. You know why? Because they were really just salesmen. They weren't called to be. I tell people, these architects and these administrators want to be apostles, and what they should do is go into be entrepreneurs and get into the business of money because that's what they're trying to do at church anyhow. And go lay that money at the foot of a real apostle and be a blessing to the kingdom of God. And quit being a soul merchant. A mama's calling matters. I read this story about this woman who stood in line with her. She had a real pregnant belly. You know those kind? I remember Debbie Stromwall when she was pregnant? She would stand up on the church stage and she'd be facing that way. And she looked normal. And when she turned around, boy, I'm going to tell you, her belly was like this, but from behind you couldn't even see it. This woman had this pregnant belly. And the cashier asked her, said, is this your first baby? And she said, no, it's my third. So the mom, she swiped her debit card. She said, and the cashier said, you know, you just look so young. She said, yeah, I guess I am. In our culture, 27 might seem young to have 3 children already. And in many ways, most step into the role of motherhood blind. I think that most people aren't ready to be a mama. I think it's a tough thing. You know, probably the best time to have a child is about the time they're ready to move out of the house. Have them at that age. 21, you have them, they're 21, they leave. And everybody's happy. She said, you know, she's going to have 4 children, 3 children, 4 years old and under. God. We had the grandkids over this week. Danette made these little treats for their, it's not a secret anymore, is it? They already got, okay. Got oyster shells, and you paint them all up. And I got to tell you, I was going to bring mine and was going to have a judgment. I made the best one. You know, Samson probably came in second. And but we had glitter and had gold, and you had these things. It's an oyster shell, and you can put it on your dresser, ladies, and put your rings and stuff. And I'm taking orders after service. See Jonathan, he's going to help me do that. But so 2 11-year-olds, 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, 5? Layla's 5 now? Ooh, I should have got her something. And then we got the little smartest guy in the world. He talks to me better than most adults I talk to. He told his sister at my house the other day, this is what he said. How did he say it? Yeah, calm down. Calm down. And she said, don't tell me to calm down, bruh. What a great time, man. We did pizza and painted and stuff. Oh, we had this great time. But when the last one left, we locked the front doors. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Children, gee whiz. Suffice to say, this chick I'm talking about right here, I would think she's tired all the time. I said, I think she's tired all the time. That's what I think. Help me, ladies. Would that be true? Is that a true statement? 3 of y'all? She's tired all the time. The stage of motherhood with small children is very physically demanding. It's very emotionally demanding. I want to tell you what, these kids will drive you nuts. And they just go crazy. Stop. Even though a mother loves her family and her work as a mom, that doesn't mean that work ain't hard and it's not taxing. Most often, their most basic needs have to take a back seat as they have to care for those kids. Thank you, bro. This is really good preaching, ain't it? I appreciate your encouragement this morning. Most often, they'll fall asleep in bed, satisfied with a day full of snuggles, or maybe somebody didn't pull the drapes off the wall and color the walls or something crazy like that, break something. But there's other days that they experience brokenness and failures to measure up to be that perfect mother that they were always really expected to be by our culture. I'll be 69 September 19th. I do take Venmo. And I know what I'm talking about today. And it's not too late for us to make some changes. You say, my kids are grown. I'm telling you, what about those people that still have kids? Mothering. There's a spiritual motherhood too, you know, nursing mothers in the church. For every day, mothers don't get any performance ratings. There's no boss standing there giving them objective encouragement, constructive criticism, encouraging, say, great, you're great. Thank you. Thank you for washing those clothes. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. They don't get it. Because most husbands, I'm going to tell you, I'll say this, I say most husbands. And if you want to jump in that and get mad at me, then you can be most husbands. Most husbands could care less about all that stuff their wives do. And probably never say anything except Mother's Day or birthday, instead of a life of encouragement. So easy to lose our perspective and think that they're the only one barely surviving this wonderfully exhausting role called motherhood. On Mother's Day, I don't mind giving the mothers a standing ovation, but what I think they really need is affirmation and support, and it should begin at home, where the judgment of God begins, and the house of God. It should begin at home, guys. Children. So today, I want you mothers to know this. I don't care what position your motherhood is. I know people that have been mothers to other people's kids. You know what kind of mother I'm talking about. I want you to know, I realize your role as a mom to young children and all children is hard, even after they're grown. Can I stop right there a minute? I said even after they're grown. It's a death sentence to have children. You know why? Because you're going to be concerned and bothered and worried about them till they die. And even then, it's hard to take. I'm not saying there's not joy in it, but you will be concerned. I want to remind you and encourage you this morning, being a mother is a valuable kingdom work. The whole attitude and the spirit of mother is something that really, as to what you practice at home and you can bring to the ecclesia. Fathering and mothering. The role of mother is undervalued, misunderstood, and looked over by a culture that applauds all this outward and visible contributions to society. Most of a mother's work, though, in reality, isn't seen by nobody else. It's hidden away in the unseen moments with her children when nobody else is looking. When they bend over to pick up the same daggum toy for the 100th time, there's no crowd there saying, oh, here's a card. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. When they respond patiently toward a screaming infant or a tantrum-throwing toddler. I got to tell you, the older I'm getting, I think I have greater patience than ever before, but with children and screaming infants and toddlers that just go off the wall, I'm okay with it, but then I need a little break afterwards. Thank you. But you got that mama no one is there to praise their patience. Man, you're amazing. The patience you have with that screaming little brat right there. I'm going to tell you what. Mothers sacrifice and struggle because they love. I said they love. And I'm going to tell you what love is. Love is a kingdom thing. And you better get that in your pipe now. It is a kingdom work. I want to let you mothers know this morning that your call and your work is valued by me and this house and what we're representing to the world. That's why your baby crying in service ain't no inconvenience to me. It ain't no distraction for me. When kids are running around the church, people, that's not order. I say, shut up. It don't bother me. It don't bother me. Them dancing and play around while we're singing. But let me tell you what it is. It's an important reminder that the kingdom belongs to the childlike. And guys, I ain't talking about the immature. I ain't talking about men that spend all their time playing games and stuff and can't minister to their family. I call them playboys. I'm talking about people who appreciate this wonderful, childlike opportunity that we have, because if you miss it, you probably won't get it back. If you don't influence your children, I guarantee and promise you this, somebody else will. And you can talk all you want, but they don't care what you're saying. They're watching everything you do. You hear me? I said they're watching everything you do. You keep fighting, ladies, and you keep protecting your children from being gobbled up by worldliness. Don't you let the world have your babies. I said, don't you let the world have your babies. You fight for that. You tell them, no, you're not going to be watching that stuff anymore. You say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to church is what we're going to do, because that's all that matters when it's said and done. Ladies, if your husband ain't going to be a man and step up and be the head of your house, you do it. Because a man who is not under the authority of the house of God and God's word, guess what? He has zero authority and say so. Now, he may be paying your bills, and that's a whole other thing you got to deal with. But I'm going to tell you what, women have some pretty good things going on with them that they can manipulate and cause some things to happen. They have great influence on people. To let your children be indoctrinated and create your child's, let the world indoctrinate and create your child's character is the highest form of child abuse. And I'll put this on the record. It's worse than child trafficking or letting your child be molested by somebody, because it has to do with their eternal destiny. And we have let the world molest our children. Maybe not physically, but we've let them do it in their mind and the way they view things and the place they put God in their life. Joel, that is the worst child abuse you could ever have. Protect your children, ladies, mamas, from all their enemies. School teachers, social media influence, and stupid, ignorant, spiritually weak fathers. Don't get mad at me. I'll say a lot worse than that. Listen, I know I do church different. I know I say you can go get other stuff where they're going to fetch you and give you flowers and stuff. Mothers don't need to be involved in a million ministry commitments when their hands are full nurturing babies in the way, children in the ways of Yah. I want to tell you this. It's a shame that everybody in this church don't help in the nursery. It's a shame. I just give up on it. Because nobody, I ain't doing that. That ain't my job. I've raised my kids. Oh, really? Well, how's that working out for you? How's your kids turning out? I think a lot of people's kids would turn out a lot better if they spent the time now ministering to other people's kids. Think about that kind of thing. I must be out of my mind to say stuff like this. No, I'm out of their mind. I got my baby. I do both. Okay. I know who you are now. I know who you are. If everybody did it, you do it once a year. I don't change diapers. You know what? Well, maybe that's what you need to start doing, sir. Maybe that's your whole problem, your arrogance and your pride. And you don't change diapers because you're what, a man? You a man? And your wife, I bet's changed your diapers. I hadn't heard one man help me except that man right there today. It's fine with me. I got to hurry so I can get my reserved seat. I think the mama, we don't want them full of ministry, all this ministry stuff. They got babies at home. The rest of us should be carrying the load here. Just keep doing, ladies, those seemingly small, ordinary, and mundane things to Yahweh and watch Him bless and watch Him multiply your efforts. I promise you, it will not go unrewarded. Thank you for sowing seeds of love in the hearts of the youngest among us, even the spiritually new and young. But what's so crazy, we have babies coming here, and they go way past people that have been here for 50 years. I don't do that no more. I'm retired. Okay, well, just go ahead and retire. I will never retire. I tell you how I'm going out, and I'm not going to say it this morning. I think we should support all new mothers. I think we should support all mothers. I think there's a need for mentoring here. You know, someone who's already walked the path of motherhood. Somebody say, come here, baby, don't do that. Let me see what you do. You just take this, assault this right here, and you just stick it down their throat right there. They'll be fine in the morning. That'd be fine. Don't worry about that. I should have to do that. I've done it 1,000,000 times. Come here. That ain't nothing, man. Okay, he's good. Spiritually and in the natural. Somebody with experiential knowledge. Someone to give perspective and nurture the minds of these people. Spiritually and naturally. Somebody that can go to advice and support. Well, I don't really like her. This is what I'm saying. You've got to open your perspective up. There's people here today that they're going to leave here and they're going to have an ache in their heart because it's Mother's Day. They got up this morning, and I'm going to tell you, it might have been difficult, and they were just hoping that maybe somebody would call them and say Happy Mother's Day, or just hoping that somebody would acknowledge it. And then those that knew they would never get that acknowledgement from somebody that was either aborted or somebody that was adopted or whatever it may be. What I would like to do on this Mother's Day is see a group of the, I don't want to say older women, but yeah, I'm going to say that. I wish I could say, okay, who's willing to do this morning? You know what? A lot of times I don't do that anymore, Joel. Say, hey, let's have some women to come up here. And who would be a mentor to somebody? Who would take somebody? The reason I don't do it, let me tell you why. Because I don't want to walk out of here disappointed again. When people that just, they come to church and then they go off into their life and world and they don't think about that the ecclesia is even important. And I got to tell you, I'm talking about some, not everybody. There's great faithful people in this house right here. You know, I said, Jonathan shared the deposits with me this week, and those that gave the first fruit offering, I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud. Because, and some of them, y'all, it's really, really difficult. Some it's not that difficult because we've been doing it for years. We should already be prepared. Maybe you don't have a child now. Maybe your children have left. Maybe you're going this. But can you take somebody under your wing who's younger than you and mentor them spiritually, mentor them physically, as far as their children go? Just be there, somebody that can just talk to. Not someone who has all the answers. This ain't about having answers. Or somebody that thinks you got to be a spiritual giant. You don't have to be a spiritual giant to go serve in the nursery. But someone who's willing to listen and love somebody. Because really, all a tired mama needs, in my opinion, to keep going is a listening ear. A good cry, some alone time, and just maybe some chocolate ice cream. Bow your heads right now. This is what I want to do. Before Reggie closes, if you're a mother in any way,